Hey, what is up everyone? Tyler Ramsbey here, back with some more live hacking. Whether you're watching this on Twitch right now, watching it on YouTube after the fact, hey, I just want to welcome you and say it is truly an honor to have you hanging out with me. We will be live for the next hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or so, and we're going to work our way through some recent exploits on TryHackMe. We're going to tackle hopefully Spring for Shell, PwnKit, things like that. I don't know how many of them we'll get into, but we'll get as many done as we can. And the cool thing about what we're going to do this evening or this afternoon, whenever you're watching this, you can follow along. So the rooms that we're going to do on TryHackMe are free, which means you don't need to have a subscription. You just need to have a TryHackMe account, which is totally free to make. So if you're watching this video right now on YouTube, pause the video, go make a TryHackMe account, and then join back here. If you're live on Twitch right now, you can't really pause me. At least I don't think you can. Maybe you can, I don't really know. But if you're watching me on Twitch, hopefully you already have a TryHackMe account and you can get logged in and we can dive into things together. And what I always like to say in the beginning of my videos is I do not claim to be anything near an expert. The reason I do these streams is I want to learn, and I was already doing a lot of work at this time to learn and to study and to level up my own understanding. So I figured, hey, let's stream it. Like, let's invite people into this process, and you guys can watch me stumble through stuff, watch me make silly mistakes, watch me ask questions, and maybe you can help me as well. So if you're more experienced than I am, even if you're not more experienced than I am, if you see something I'm missing or I'm doing something inefficient and there's a better way to do it, call me out, right? Post a message on Twitch. If this is on YouTube, leave a comment on the video and help me grow as well. All right, all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into things. Let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see my Kali Linux box. And what I've done so far, just so you can get caught up, is I connected to the Open VPN for TryHackMe, and I have my terminal here. So that's all I've done so far. Oh, I think I launched the machine on TryHackMe as well, but I don't know if I did or not. But here is TryHackMe. I want to go from the beginning here because I know sometimes these little learning modules can be difficult to find. So go ahead, get TryHackMe pulled up. I'll give you a second to get logged in. And while you get logged in, I'm going to pull Twitch up on the side so I can watch the chat. Okay, so what we're going to do is click Learn up here. And here are learning paths. So if you're new to TryHackMe, I would encourage you to go through one of these learning paths depending on your experience level. But we're going to go down to the modules, which are almost like mini learning paths for lack of a better explanation. And there is a cool learning path I just discovered today called Recent Threats. And it's going to go through some of the recent threats that have been exploited. And one of the newest ones is a CVE 2022, that's the year, 26923. It doesn't have a cool name yet, I don't think, but it's a vulnerability in AD certificate services. So yep, I did already launch my machine. With Windows machines can always take a little bit to open up, so I did mine ahead of time. But if you haven't already, go ahead and click Start Machine. We have a wall of text that we'll read through before we really dive into it, so we should have some time for your machine to load up. But this room explores this CVE, I'm not going to say it every single time, a vulnerability in Microsoft's Active Directory certificate service. So we're kind of keeping so far with this theme that we've been doing of learning Active Directory hacking. Both me and Nate, the other streamer on this Twitch, we're both studying for the OSCP, and a big part of that now is Active Directory hacking. I believe it's 40% of it that you are guaranteed now to have an AD network on the OSCP that allows any AD user to escalate their privileges to domain admin in a single hop. Now, if you remember from our stream last night, we talked through Bloodhound and we showed those different attack vectors that get to domain admin. This allows you to do it in one hop from a low-level user. Research done and released as a white paper by Spectre Ops showed that it was possible to exploit misconfigured certificate templates for privilege escalation and lateral movement. Based on the severity of the misconfiguration, it could allow any low privilege user on the AD domain to escalate their privilege to that of an enterprise domain admin. Not a good thing. With just a few clicks, you essentially have the keys to the kingdom right there. If you're interested in learning more about these certificate template exploits, see this room. Further research was performed by Oliver Yak, who discovered an additional vulnerability, that's the one we're going to dive into today, in the certificate service. A patch was released for this vulnerability by Microsoft on the 10th of May. You can read more about the research here if you want. This room provides a walkthrough of the exploitation of the vulnerability as detailed in the research. So, start the VM, that's right up there, click Start Machine to begin the room. You will be using SSH to connect later in the room, so make sure to either use the THM VPN or the attack box. The attack box is the browser-based kind of Kali machine, but I would encourage you to have your own Kali Linux machine on your computer so you can customize it and learn as you go. The following low privileged credentials are provided below. Please allow 5 minutes for the machine to fully boot. And hey, while this machine boots up for you, if you are following along, let me just introduce you guys quick to Discord. There's a link to this in the YouTube video if you're watching this right now, but this is a Discord. I'm an admin on it. Nate, I believe, is also an admin, and it has really grown up. This kind of began last October when me and Nate said, hey, you and I should just meet like once a week to hold one another accountable. And eventually that grew from a little Facebook chat to now this Discord that has like, I think over 150 members on it. And I think what sets our Discord apart is we have weekly meetings. Every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, a bunch of us get together in the meeting room on Discord and we share two things. What did you accomplish this past week? What are your learning goals this week? And then we help hold one another accountable. So if you're looking for a learning community that is open, that is inviting, that hopefully you would enjoy being a part of, come join us on Discord. If you're watching this on Twitch and you're not already in this Discord, just post in the chat that you want to join and I will drop an invite link. Otherwise, if you're watching this on YouTube, look down, look at the description, and you should be able to catch that link. All right, I'm gonna pull this over here and then we will dive into things. And Nate just said I'm fired for starting the stream while he was at the store getting ice cream. That dude eats ice cream every single night. So sorry, Nate, if you're on now. We are just getting started. All right. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna edit my Etsy host file. And I didn't even look at the IP. That'd be a good thing to look at. So here's our IP. Let's just grab that just to make life a little bit easier for us. And what was it called? Let's just copy this domain down. Save. Let's try to ping it just to make sure we have that connection. And we do. And now let's go ahead and SSH and let's kind of put our screens side by side. If you have two monitors, I would encourage that, but my second monitor is being used for Twitch and OBS and all the video stuff, so I'm going to do it this way. And let's go ahead and SSH as THM at lunar.iroka.com. And our password is password1 @. Boom. Who am I? We are Lunar on we're THM on the Lunar network. Read the above. Done. A brief look at certificate templates. I think this is going to be a little wall of text. Let's go ahead and open this full screen. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys. Windows Active Directory, or AD, is not just for identity and access management, but provides a significant amount of services to help you run and manage your organization. Many of these services are less commonly known or used, meaning they are often overlooked when security hardening is performed. And honestly, from experience, most organizations' ADs are messed up. One of these services is the Active Directory Certificate Services. When talking about certificates, we usually think only about the most common ones, such as those used to upgrade website traffic to HTTPS. But these are generally only used for applications that the organization exposes to the internet. What about all those applications running on the internal network? Do we now have to give them internet access to allow them to request a certificate from a trusted certificate authority? Well, not really. Cue ADCS. ADCS is Microsoft's public key infrastructure, aka PKI implementation. Since AD provides a level of trust in an organization, it can be used as a certificate authority to prove and delegate trust. ADCS is used for several things, such as encrypting file systems, creating and verifying digital signatures, and even user authentication, making it a promising avenue for attackers. What makes it even more dangerous attack vector is that certificates certificates can survive credential rotation. Keep that in mind, highlight that. Meaning even if a compromised account's password is reset, that will do nothing to invalidate the maliciously generated certificate, providing persistent credential theft for up to 10 years. The diagram below shows what the flow for certificate request and generation looks like. All right, so number one, client. That is us, the user or the computer, and that's important because there's user certificates and there's computer or machine certificates, generates a public-private key pair. The client sends a certificate request, CSR, to an enterprise CA server. That's right there. And then this is asking these questions. Does a certificate template exist? There are certificate templates to make life easier for IT. Are the settings in the CSR allowed by certificate template? Is the user allowed to enroll for certificate? If yes, the CA generates a certificate and signs it using the CA's private key. Boom, shoot it over here. The client stores certificate in Windows Certificate Store and uses to perform actions allowed by the certificate. It's kind of like having a key, right? That's why it's called the key. A key to your house, a key to a building gives you certain authority. And we have authentication, code signing, etc. Since ADCS is such a privileged function, it normally runs on selected domain controllers, meaning normal users can't really interact with the service directly. On the other side, organizations tend to be too large to have an administrator create and distribute each certificate manually. This is where certificate templates come in. I use these at my own job. Administrators of ADCS can create several templates that can allow any user with the relevant permissions to request a certificate themselves. These templates have parameters that say which user can request a certificate and what is required. What Spectre Ops has found was that a specific combinations of these parameters can be incredibly toxic and be abused for privilege escalation and persistent access. Water break. Before we dive deeper into certificate abuse, here is some terminology. PKI, Public Key Infrastructure, is a system that manages certificates and public key encryption. ADCS, Active Directory Certificate Services, is Microsoft's PKI implementation, which usually runs on domain controllers. CA, Certificate Authority, is a PKI that issues certificates. Certificate Template, a collection of settings and policies that define how and when a certificate may be issued by a certificate authority. A CSR, remember that's what the client sends. Certificate signing request is a message sent to a CA to request a signed certificate. An EKU, Extended or Enhanced Key Usage, are object identifiers that define how a generated certificate may be used. Read the above. Done. What does a user create to ask the CA for a certificate? Remember, it is the certificate signing request. What is the name of Microsoft's PKI implementation? That is Active Directory Certificate Services. Boom, moving right along. Eventually we'll get into the terminal and some legit hacking, but context, background, history really is important. As discussed in the overview of certificate templates, they are convenient to allow users and systems to enroll for certificates. Certificates have many use cases in the network. For this CVE and the template misconfigurations discovered by Spectre Ops, the primary focus is on the client authentication use case. Client authentication allows the owner of the certificate to use it to verify their own identity, kind of like a driver's license and AD for authentication purposes. For example, a client certificate is used to authenticate against a web application. The authentication process occurs through Kerberos. If we have a valid certificate that has the client authentication EKU, that's the extended key usage, we can interface with ADCS and Key Distribution Center to request a Kerberos TGT, that's a ticket granting ticket, that can then be used for further authentication. As an attacker, we can leverage this to generate a ticket granting ticket to impersonate another user or system. We're going to spoof some stuff should we have a valid certification for them. In essence, we want to be able to modify the subject alternative name, keep that in mind, that's a specific attribute of the certificate request to point to someone or something else that has more permissions to perform privilege escalation. Default certificate templates. By default, when Active Directory Certificate Services is installed in an environment, 2 certificate templates are made available for requests to support client authentication: user and machine. User certificate. This certificate template can be requested by any user that belongs to the domain users group, which is all the users. Machine certificate template. This certificate template can be requested by any host, that's computer, machine, endpoint, that belongs to the domain computers group. The user template is not vulnerable by default. When we request a certificate based on the user template, the user principal name of the user account, like Tyler.Ramsbey, will be embedded in the SAN that can be used for identification. Since UPNs must be unique, we can't have two Tyler.Ramsbeys, and we usually do not have the ability to modify our UPN, we cannot leverage this template. Furthermore, since we don't have the ability to alter the SAN value in certificate sign and request, we cannot impersonate another user by specifying their UPN. However, computer accounts do not have a UPN. Instead of using UPN for authentication, the machine template uses the DNS name of the machine for identification and authentication. When a certificate is requested for a machine through the machine template, ADCS embeds the machine's DNS name into the SAN, which is then used for authentication. So we're going to abuse one of these certificate templates. Default domain user privs. By default, any user who is a member of the authenticated users group, literally all AD accounts, can enroll up to 10 new machines on the domain. This is often used in organizations to allow users to BYOD, bring their own device, and enroll it for use on the domain. This in itself is not really a vulnerability, but has led to some interesting priv escalation vectors in the path, exactly what we will be exploiting for this CVE. When we enroll a new host in AD, we are assigned as the owner of that host, endpoint, computer, specify whatever you want there. This provides us with certain permissions over the AD object associated with that host. Two permissions in particular caused an issue here. We can validate right to a DNS host name. And that the DNS host name, I believe, is what's used for identification and stuff. This permission allows us to update the DNS host name of our AD object associated with the host and validate to write to the service principal name. This permission allows us to update the SPN of our AD object associated with the host. SPN, service principal names, are used by Kerberos authentication to associate a service instance with a service logon account. By default, the computer AD object receives SPNs associated with their name to allow for Kerberos authentication, which the host requires to perform specific requests against AD. SPNs must be unique, meaning two AD objects are not allowed to have the same SPN. You would think it would be as simple as changing the DNS host name to another host name, maybe the host name of a domain controller for privilege escalation. However, if you change the DNS host name, Microsoft automatically updates the SPN attribute. Since those must be unique, we will get an error if we try to impersonate another host through the DNS hostname attribute. But since we have the ability also to change the SPN, we can bypass this restriction. Cool. The pieces of the puzzle should now start to come together. If we only had one of the two permissions, we would not have a vulnerability. However, the combination of having those two permissions allows us to perform privilege escalation. Putting it all together, let's put the puzzle together. Using these configurations, the default ADCS machine certificate template, the default ability to enroll a new machine, up to 10 of them, and the default permissions assigned on the created computer AD object, we have a privilege escalation vector on our hands. What makes it worse is that this privilege escalation vector requires minimal effort, meaning that even a caveman can do it, right? Meaning the attacker's skill to exploit this issue is quite low. The basic steps are the following. 1, compromise the creds of a low privilege AD user. And if you watch our Breaching AD series, I did 2 parts to Breaching AD. That's what you would do. Step 1, breach AD. Step 2, use those creds to enroll a new host on the domain. That's like enroll a new computer. Alter the DNS hostname attribute of the computer AD object to that of a privileged host, such as a domain controller. Remove the SPN attribute to bypass the unique SPN conflict issue. Request a machine certificate using the default template, and perform Kerberos authentication with the received template now as a privileged machine account instead of our fake machine account. In this next task, we will get to hacking. What AKU allows us to use the generated certificate for Kerberos authentication, which AKU. Let's see. Go like this. If we have a valid certificate that has the client authentication, EKU, that's what we're looking for. Client authentication. If I knew how to spell. What AD group can request a certificate using the machine certificate template that would be, wouldn't be domain users, but domain computers, I think? Yep. What value in the machine certificate is used for identification and authentication? I believe the DNS host name. Boom. Let's keep moving. Let's do some hacking. Boot up Kali Linux. We got it. Now that we have covered the theory, let's see it in action. First, we need to configure some DNS values. 10.4. We can do that. Let's change this name to shell. Let's open a new tab. Switch to the root. We'll change this one to terminal. And let's gedit our etc host file. And we already have that, so what does it need to be? It needs to be lunc.lunar.eruka.com. Let me look at this full. Oh, it really is just that whole long thing. Okay. Sounds good. lunareruka.com, lunc, lunar-lunc.ca, certificate authority, lunar.eruka.com. Did I do that right? lunc.lunar.eruka.com, lunc, ca, lunar-eruka.com. Okay. I think I did that right. We'll find out if it works or not. Similar to the blog post, we will use Certipie for our exploitation, which has been installed on the attack box. I believe I already installed it on my Kali Linux machine. And you know what we should do? TryHackMe. Let's make a directory and call it recent threats. You see, I already have it there. And then make a directory for this specific thing, which I was working through this earlier. Let's grab this. Okay, Certipie. If you don't have Certipie, let me show you how easy it is to install. So to install Certipie, you can, let's go to file. No, let's go back. Let me make this big. Yeah. So on here, you just go to code right here. Copy that. I'm not going to do it because I already did this, but on your Kali Linux machine, it's just git clone, and you copy and paste that in, and then that will clone it. That will essentially download it to your computer, and then you go into that Certipie folder and you run setup-install. If you actually read through these instructions, it'll show you how to do it. Python 3 setup.py, which is included in that install, and it will install Certipie, and it will install it to your ops, so then you can just run it from anywhere. You don't need to be in that specific area. All right, let's go ahead and pull this back up. Get this guy pulled back up. So Certipie, get Certipie installed. It goes pretty quick to install it. Certipie is an offensive tool for enumeration and exploitation of ADCS vulnerabilities and misconfigurations. It integrates with Impacket for some of the exploits. So if you are installing this on your own machine, make sure to update Impacket as well. We have created a virtual Python, blah, blah, we're not using a attack box. Let's first get our feet wet with generating a certificate for our low privilege AD user. Let's do it. So we're going to do Certipie, REQ for requests, and you can see my command history is here when I was working on this earlier. But lunar.eruka.com. Actually, this is even the correct command. So we specify the domain there, username there, password, which is one @ the two ats look confusing, but it's one @ that's part of the password, and then it's @ and then we're specifying the domain there, lunc.lunar.eruka.com. Whoops. And then -CA for certificate authority. And we're going to do this one. Here's where we'll see if I set up my DNS correctly, and template user. We're going to get from the user template. Remember, there's two templates, user and machine. And sometimes it will time out because of the way the OpenVPN is using UDP instead of TCP. So it might time out on us. And if it does, you literally just wait a second. Oh, yeah, this is the correct error. You just wait a second and do it again. Ah, my throat is like dry. Let's try it again. Sometimes it takes a few times. It even says it right here. If you get the timeout error for this command or any of the rest, just wait 2 seconds and then run it again. Blah, blah. We did it though. So there it is, and we can verify as well. Certipie auth pfx.thm.pfx. And that's just going to reach out there to get that ticket granting ticket, and it's going to throw an NTLM hash at us, verifying that it worked. Certipie performs authentication with a certificate and uses mPacket. Can I make this dumb thing go away here? I don't think I can. Certipie performs blah blah to recover the NTLM hash. You can see it right there. Associated with the UPN specified in the certificate. We could, of course, use something like Rubus to request a ticket granting ticket and then import that with Mimikatz for attacks, but this at least proves that the certificate is valid and can be used for Kerberos authentication. Adding a computer to the domain, right? So remember, the domain users group can add up to 10 hosts or endpoints to the domain, at least by default. Your company hopefully has that turned off. We need to add a new computer to the domain to generate a machine certificate. Luckily, we don't have to add a physical computer to the network. We can use Impaka's addcomputer.py script to simply make it look like we're adding a new computer. So if you do locate addcomputer.py, you should be able to find the path of it right there, because I don't think we can just go like that. So what we'll have to do is we'll go user share doc python3 impacket examples addcomputer.py, and then we're able to follow through this. So here's what we're going to do. We got addcomputer.py. We're going to specify the domain lunar.uruka.com, and then we're going to specify the user that we're using, the domain user, which for us is THM is the username, and password 1 @ is the password. Then our method we're going to use is LDAPs, and then we want to give it a computer name, and just to keep it the same as the walkthrough, let's go ahead and give it THMPC, like that. And then we're going to set a computer pass. You'll want to remember this, so we're just going to do the same thing as our user account, and let's see if that works. Oh, go like this. Whoops. We need to specify Python 3, it would appear. So let's jump back here. And the way you do that, really easy. Python 3. There we go. Successfully added machine account with THMPC with password 1A. This is explained the parameters. I kind of already did that. So let's just go down here. First, let's generate a certificate for the new computer we created. To use the machine account of said computer, we need to add a $ at the end of the name. So now we're requesting a certificate from the machine template. Remember, 2 default templates, user and machine. So we're going to try to grab a certificate for our machine that we just added. So Certipie again, REQ for request, and then very similar to our last command, except for here we're going to do our PC name, which is that $ right there. Same thing with the password @ and then we're at the lun.c.lunar.uruka.com. The CA is lunar.lunc.ca, our template and machine. Requesting certificate. Is it going to time out again? We'll spam it till it does it for us. Come on. Come on, Certipie. I believe in you. All right. I think we're stressing Certipie out. Let's give it a second. Maybe I did it too soon. Fingers crossed. Let's try it again. heck was that? Is that on Discord? I heard some weird...
Sorry, dude. I thought I was muted. I'm eating ice cream. Here, I'll go on mute.
Dude, that's awesome. I heard like some crazy noise. I'm like, is that my music in the background?
No, I'm at the bottom of the ice cream. I'm literally scraping the last of it. Yeah, I thought I was muted. I'm sorry.
That's fantastic. No, that's great. All right, y'all. So if you guys heard that, that's Nate finishing his tub of ice cream that he has every night. All right. Well, while Nate was eating his ice cream, we were able to do that certificate successfully for our machine. We can verify it real quick with Certipie, auth, pfx, and thmpc.pfx. I should be able to get the NTLM hash again. Trying to get ticket, granny ticket. You got it. Come on. Give me that TGT. Come on, Certipie. Certipie. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Sweet. We can verify the NTLM hash recovered against the password we set for the machine account using an NTLM generator. Don't feel like it. Well, we could. Let's just check it out. And it is the same. So if you look at this hash right here and this right here, it is the same. Cool. It worked. Updating the DNS hostname, SPN attributes. In order to update the AD object attributes, we will use a AD RSAT PowerShell command list. This should look familiar to you because we've been using this pretty often in the other rooms that we've done. You can use a following command on attack box. Okay, we already SSH'd in. Let's do PowerShell. We'll just do execution policy bypass. And here we go. Once you're in, start PowerShell done. And then this should look very similar to our enumerating AD stream that we did last night, because we're going to use some of those same commands here to get the information that we are looking for. And so I wish this automatically wrapped the text in these little boxes. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But we're going to do get AD computer, and we're going to look at our own computer, which is a THM PC, and we want to look at properties, and then we specify here are the properties we want to see. So let's see, DNS hostname, and then the SPN or service principal name. Is there one more? Nope, that's all of them. There we go. So we can see our DNS hostname right there, and our service principal name right there, and our SID as well. We can see both the DNS hostname and the SPN attributes are set to match our computer's name, and you can see that THMPC, computer name, THMPC, that's our computer name. Let's try to update the DNS hostname attribute to that of the DC or the domain controller using the set AD commandlet. So let's give that a shot. Set AD computer, specify computer, THMPC. Whoops. And it looks like we add a switch for DNS hostname. And then we're going to set that to luncy.lunar.eruka.com. And I believe this is going to fail. Yeah. It's just showing us that we can't do that right now because we have to clear it first, I believe. The operation failed to set because SPN value provided for addition is not unique forest-wide, right? As we can see from the output, Microsoft automatically changes the SPN attribute when we set the DNS hostname. Since an SPN already exists for LUNDC, the domain controller, the command fails. To counter this, let's first remove our current SPN attribute. So set AD computer, THMPC, service principal name at, and then this as an empty. Perfect. We flush our AD computer's object. Let's try to set the DNS hostname attribute again of that DC. I'm just gonna hit the up arrow that allows you to repeat commands that you already ran. So let's go ahead and try to run that command now. And it works successfully. No error this time. Let's verify that the changes were made. So let's go ahead and run that other command again as well. Right here. Okay, and you can see for our PC, it now has the DNS hostname of the domain controller. And let's scroll down here. Perfect. By simply removing our SPN, Microsoft no longer tries to change those when we change our DNS host name, meaning we can change it to a legitimate host's DNS host name, and we can start to spoof some stuff. Forging a malicious certificate. Time to regenerate some certificates. Okay, sounds good. Let's run that same command of Certipie again to request a new certificate for our computer. All right, let's give it a shot. I might already have it saved. I think it would be the same thing. Certipie request, Lunar Eureka THMPC at that CA template machine. Let's give that a shot. Is it gonna work? Nope, it's not. Give it a second. Maybe we need to hear Nate eat more ice cream because that seemed to fix it last time.
Not too bad, it's all gone.
Oh shoot, we're gonna be stuck here the rest of the night and I'm not getting Certipie to work.
Could loudly slip on NA beer if that helps.
That sounds like a very good idea. Like right at the microphone.
It's good. You'll have to tag this one on YouTube with like funny sounds or what is that ASMR?
Oh yeah,
ice cream ASMR.
I get more views that way.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Hey, it worked. That slurping worked. Thank you. This time we noticed something different. Look at the name of this certificate. It is a domain controller. Even though we requested a certificate for our THMPC, we got a certificate for LUNDC because the host name is what it's looking at. Let's verify that the certificate is working and we'll return the NTLM hash of the LUNDC machine account instead. All right, so let's give it a shot. Certipie auth pfx lundc.pfx. And we have the NTLM hash right there. So past the hash attacks, all that stuff is open for us now. And if we went into this domain, if we want to really elevate our privileges, we have the hash for the domain controller. We have just owned this network essentially through this really simple vulnerability. We officially have the NTLM hash for the machine account of LUNDC. Since LUNDC is a domain controller and we have admin access to the DC, we have fully compromised the domain in one hop. If you want to take this further, you can follow the steps in task 5 to request a ticket granted ticket using the certificate and alter the password on one of the DAs just to prove that you have indeed fully compromised the domain. I'm not going to do that right now, but you are welcome to do that if you would like. So let's answer these questions. What is the syntax of the command to use impact as add computer pi to add a new computer to the Lunar Eureka blah 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 blah? So it's just asking us those specific things. So let's go back through our command history. Oh, I must have missed it, or it's not here. Here it is. So let's just copy this. Starting there. Pull up handy dandy notepad. Oh, pulled up on the wrong screen. There we go. And now what's it asking us? We want to add a new computer to Lunar Eureka. Cool. Using the AD credentials of test and pass. So let's change the username there. Test. Password. Pass with the LDAPS method, which we have, with the host name of THM test. And the password of computer 1. Let's see if that's what they're looking for. Boom. What is the NTLM hash of the domain controller account? That's right there. That's our keys to the kingdom, essentially. That's how we could do a golden ticket attack, I believe is what it would be called. I'm just going to pull up my notes because I believe that's what you would use that for. Pull up my sweet little hacking notes and let's look at it together. So if I go to my Active Directory here and pass the hash, let's pass the password, grab some local hashes. Hashes. Is it token impersonation? Identify domain admin, impersonate our domain admin. Attempt to dump hashes. All these different things. You'll notice they all have to do with with hashes. Once we get those hashes, we have the keys to the kingdom. I think it's technically called... So a golden ticket attack is a type of attack in which an adversary gains control over an Active Directory key distribution service account, which with that hash, we could get a ticket granting ticket as the domain controller and uses that account to forge valid Kerberos ticket granting tickets. This gives the attacker access to any resource on an Active Directory domain, thus a golden ticket. And with this exploit, with this vulnerability, you can give yourself a golden ticket like Willy Wonka. I think that's what's in Willy Wonka. Obviously not for Active Directory, but for chocolate and stuff. Mitigation and fixes. Let's just glance through here. To defend against this, the best course of action is to apply the patch released by Microsoft. And so how does it fix it? A new object ID was introduced in new certificates to further fingerprint the user. This is done by embedding the user's object SID within the new this thing. And 2, the validated right to DNS hostname permission now only allows you to set the DNS hostname to an attribute matching the SAM account name or the computer account, meaning it can't be used to spoof the account name of other hosts. Together with this, there are a few other security measures you could take. Number 1, make sure that your certificate templates are restricted. Only allow machine and user automatic enrollment if it is required. Otherwise, through security configurations, the permissions for these templates can be reduced. If there is no business case for allowing users to enroll hosts onto AD, change the MSDS machine account quota attribute to 0 on all accounts that should not have the ability to enroll new hosts. This will not resolve the issue, however, since an attacker only has to gain admin access over a single domain join host to be able to perform a certificate request. Read the above. Done. Conclusion. That's a wrap. In this room, we showed a possible method to exploit that CVE. As mentioned previously, this is one of the new CVEs that came to light in Microsoft's AD certificate service. There are other issues such as toxic parameter combinations that are not even classified as CVEs that can be used for priv escalation. Have a read through the Spectre Ops white paper if you're interested in learning more. If you're interested in other rooms on recent exploits, they can be found in the recent threats module. And that's what we are going to jump through next. So congratulations, you completed the room. Share this with your friends. I think now is a good time for a short 5-minute break. So we'll take a quick 5-minute break, get up, stretch your legs, get a drink of water, run around, do whatever you want for 5 minutes, but come back because we will be jumping right into the next exploit in exactly 5 minutes. Be right back.